NFL legend Ray Lewis critiques Deion Sanders' Colorado team, says there's no brotherhood. When Deion Sanders invited NFL legend Ray Lewis to speak to his Colorado Buffaloes, it wasn't meant to be another motivational cameo. It was a mirror, a hard, unflinching reflection of what the Buffaloes have become after a season filled with disappointment, missed opportunities, and a visible fracture in team unity. The visit, part sermon, part critique, part wake-up call, sent shockwaves through the locker room. For a team that once prided itself on swagger, Lewis' words cut deep. There's no camaraderie. There's no brotherhood. The moment was captured in full on Deion Sanders Jr.'s YouTube channel, showing the Hall of Famer standing before a group of athletes who once embodied belief and ambition but now sit at 3-5, their season on the brink. For Deion Sanders, a coach known for preaching faith, unity, and accountability, this visit wasn't about publicity. It was about perspective. A visit decades in the making. Ray Lewis hadn't stepped foot on Colorado's campus since 1993, when, as a freshman Miami Hurricane, he helped defeat the Buffaloes 35-29. Now, over 30 years later, he walked into Boulder with the same fire in his eyes. But this time his mission was different. He wasn't there to compete. He was there to connect and to challenge. Standing in front of the team, Lewis looked around the room and immediately sensed something missing. Buffaloes, if you watch it on film, there's no camaraderie, he said. There's no brotherhood. You putting on the same uniform, but you walking out with different spirits. The silence in the room was thick. Players shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, knowing the critique was accurate. What Lewis saw, and what millions of college football fans have noticed, is a team struggling to rediscover the soul that once made Colorado the most talked-about program in America under Coach Prime. The power of accountability. Lewis didn't mince words. In his classic fiery tone, one that once echoed through NFL locker rooms for nearly 2 decades, he began asking questions that made players face themselves. At one point, he asked for a show of hands. Who puts away their phones when they get home? Who dials in for 2 or 3 hours to truly prepare for the next game? Only 3 hands went up. That moment said more than any statistic could. And we say we're trying to win. How? Lewis challenged. How do you win? You win by giving up what you think is pleasurable. It wasn't about discipline for discipline's sake. It was about sacrifice. To Lewis, greatness is obsession, a relentless pursuit that demands giving up comfort for purpose. He reminded the Buffaloes that talent is meaningless without commitment. Lessons from a legend. Ray Lewis, one of the fiercest competitors in NFL history, built his career on preparation and passion. As he recounted to the young Buffaloes, he used to study film with an intensity that bordered on madness. He didn't just watch opposing quarterbacks, he studied their souls. I want to know what Peyton Manning's gonna do if he's got to go to the bathroom, Lewis said, drawing laughter before driving the point home. That's how much information you got to want to know to be great. It was classic Ray Lewis, poetic, intense, unfiltered. But behind the showmanship was a simple truth. Knowledge is power. His message wasn't about physical toughness. It was about mental preparation, about outworking your opponent in every unseen detail. Deion Sanders, who himself built a Hall of Fame career on confidence and preparation, nodded along in quiet agreement. This was exactly the kind of message he wanted his players to hear. Not from him, but from someone who had lived it. Deion Sanders' choice of messengers. Coach Prime has made it a hallmark of his leadership to bring in voices that inspire. Not just football minds, but cultural icons. Over his tenure, his locker room has welcomed the likes of Denzel Washington, Lil Wayne, Michael Irvin, and Randy Moss. But Lewis' visit was different. This wasn't entertainment. This was an intervention. Lewis didn't talk about fame, money, or even winning. He talked about love. Love for teammates, love for the grind, love for the game. Learn your craft, he urged. Stop letting Colorado Buffaloes be represented off a bunch of individuals. Let's become a team. Let's talk more. Let's find out who's hurting in their silent cries. Let's fix it. That final line, "Let's fix it," lingered long after he left the room. For a team that's been drifting, those words felt like a lifeline. A moment that hit home. For players like linebacker Martavius French, the moment was surreal. French, one of Colorado's emotional leaders, said he could barely believe it when Ray Lewis shook his hand. In a post on Instagram, he joked, "I might cut off my hand and frame it." The humor masked something deeper, a sense of awe and gratitude. "I'm saving this video," French added. "I'm gonna remember this day." That reaction speaks volumes. In an era where social media and hype often overshadow authenticity, Lewis' words connected in a way few can. For once, the Buffaloes weren't talking about transfers, nil deals, or highlight reels. They were talking about soul, sacrifice, and brotherhood. Colorado's crisis of identity. For all of Deion Sanders' charisma and boldness, even he can't deny that his team has lost its edge. Colorado's 2025 season has been one long struggle. A 3-5 record and a 1-4 mark in the Big 12, far from the explosive start of 2023 that captivated the nation. Gone are the days of Shadur Sanders leading fourth-quarter comebacks and Travis Hunter dazzling on both sides of the ball. Gone, too, is the aura of invincibility that once surrounded Coach Prime's program. What remains is a roster trying to rediscover who they are. And in that vacuum, Ray Lewis' words hit hardest. His message wasn't about football, it was about culture. You putting on the same uniform, but you walking out with different spirits, he reminded them. The challenge wasn't to outplay opponents, but to outlove them, to become a family again. The road ahead. Colorado's next stretch won't be easy. They need 3 wins out of their final 4 against Arizona, West Virginia, Arizona State, and Kansas State to even have a shot at a bowl game. That's a tall order for a team still reeling from its worst loss of the Sanders era, a 49-14 blowout against Utah. But Ray Lewis' visit wasn't about immediate results. It was about planting a seed. Sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom to rediscover purpose. Sometimes it takes a legend walking into your locker room to remind you that greatness isn't a gift. It's a choice. Coach Prime's vision tested. Deion Sanders has always been a master of motivation. His slogans, "We coming," "Don't let my confidence offend your insecurity," became rallying cries for a fan base desperate to believe again. But even Sanders knows motivation fades when discipline disappears. That's why Lewis' visit mattered. It was reinforcement. It was accountability from one Hall of Famer to another. And it forced everyone in the room, coaches included, to ask hard questions. Where did the unity go? When did the mission turn into a spectacle? And what would it take to bring back the brotherhood? A program at the crossroads. 3 seasons into the Deion Sanders experiment, Colorado stands at a crossroads. The excitement hasn't vanished. The energy around the program is still undeniable. But energy without execution is noise. Ray Lewis' sermon may be remembered as the turning point, the moment when the Buffaloes stopped being a collection of transfers and started becoming a team again. Whether they rally for a bowl game or finish another disappointing campaign, what happens next will define Coach Prime's tenure far more than wins or losses. Because Lewis wasn't talking about football. He was talking about legacy. Let's talk more, he urged. Let's find out who's hurting. Let's fix it. In a world obsessed with highlight reels, those are the words that could save a season, and maybe a culture. Conclusion. The brotherhood must return. As the Buffaloes prepare for their next matchup against Arizona, the echoes of Ray Lewis' message still hang over Boulder. The question isn't whether Colorado has the talent. It's whether they have the unity to use it. Deion Sanders, ever the visionary, knows that no scheme or transfer portal can replace brotherhood. If his team finds that again, the wins will follow. If not, Lewis' words will remain a haunting reminder of what could have been. For now, one thing is certain. The Buffaloes don't just need a playbook. They need a pulse. And as Ray Lewis reminded them, you putting on the same uniform, but you walking out with different spirits. Until that changes, the real battle for Colorado isn't on the field. It's within.